2021 Nissan Kicks. What do you need to know about one of the most affordable crossover SUVs on the market before buying one? That's what we're going to find out. Welcome to Car Help Corner, where we help you, the consumer, master the process of car buying and car ownership. So right off the bat, I want to start off with one of the most important pieces of information that you need to know about the 2021 Nissan Kicks. If you're in the market for a super affordable crossover SUV, and I mean really affordable, you absolutely need to be considering one of these, and I'm going to tell you why. The problem with the vast majority of crossover SUVs on the market today is that they're just so expensive. I mean, you're going to be paying at least $30,000, potentially way more, for the majority of choices out there. If you're looking for something like, say, a Honda CR-V or a Toyota RAV4, I mean, these are SUVs that just cost a lot of money. So what do you do if you're looking for something that's more comparable to, say, a traditional compact economy car? If you have a limited budget, then what do you do? Well, you need to be considering something like the Nissan Kicks, and I'm going to tell you exactly what's so great about Nissan's most affordable crossover SUV. For starters, this thing only costs around between $20,000 and $25,000 depending on which trim level you go with, and for that you get a lot of the major benefits of crossover ownership. Let's start off with the design, because the Kicks does have a pretty sharp looking crossover look going on. It has all of the typical traits that you would expect, like the flared bulging wheel arches, the high ground clearance with the nice high seating position, and that overall SUV profile look that a lot of people are really drawn to. And what I really like about the Kicks is that if you go for some of the higher trim levels, you get some pretty attractive details, like a two-tone paint job with dark finished wheels that looks really sharp. So overall, I'm a big fan of the way this thing looks. And you also get a lot of the practicality benefits of a crossover. This thing has a pretty reasonably sized cargo area. It can fit a lot of stuff that a lot of small families are looking for in terms of space. It has a pretty surprisingly spacious back seats, and the other benefit is that you can fold down the back seats for even more cargo space. You also have child seat anchors in the back seats, which are really useful, and you also have some grocery hooks in the cargo area, which are really handy. So overall, this thing can do all of the things you would expect of a crossover SUV, just in a slightly smaller package. I actually have a really close friend that owns one of these, and he uses it as an everyday family vehicle. He's got a baby with a kid seat in the back, and yeah, it's obviously not as practical and spacious as one of the larger crossovers out there, but if you're willing to compromise a little bit, you can certainly make it work. Now, I want to talk about the interior of the Kicks because there's a lot of great highlights to go through, starting with the seats. These are Nissan's zero gravity seats, which are basically a marketing term for memory foam seats. So what you need to know about them is that they're very comfortable. I could definitely spend a long road trip staying comfortable in these seats without any issues. Definitely one of the highlights of this interior for me. And you can get them in either a standard fabric material on the lower trim levels, or if you go for one of the higher trim levels, you get what Nissan calls their Primatex upholstery, which is basically a synthetic leather. It looks and feels like real leather. I think it looks really good, and you can get it in some nice two-tone finishes as well. Another interior highlight for me is the touchscreen infotainment system. We have an 8-inch touchscreen on the higher trim levels. If you go for the base model though, you do get a slightly smaller 7-inch touchscreen. All of them though, however, come with both Apple CarPlay and Android Auto connectivity, which is really great. And even the native interface is really well designed with a very clean, easy to use menu structure. It doesn't have much of a learning curve to it, very straightforward layout, and it also has good responsiveness, nice looking graphics, overall a really good infotainment system. And if you go for the highest trim level, you do get a backup camera that has a 360-degree surround view monitor, which is a really rare feature to find for any car at this price point. We've also got well-designed climate controls with heated seats on all trim levels, a steering wheel with controls on it that's leather wrapped on the higher trims, and we've got lots of connectivity options with USB ports both in the front seats and the back seats, which are really nice. The safety features on the Kicks are really impressive as well. As standard, you get forward emergency braking with pedestrian detection, blind spot monitoring with rear cross traffic alert, and lane keep assist. So all of those features come standard on the base trim level, and if you go for one of the higher trims, you also get reverse automatic emergency braking and adaptive adaptive cruise control. It's very rare to find all of those active safety features on a car for under $25,000, let alone a crossover, but that's what you get with the Kicks. So let's talk a little bit about the driving experience, starting with the drivetrain. As standard, you get a naturally aspirated 1.6 liter 4-cylinder engine. It comes matched to a continuously variable CVT transmission. Now, it doesn't make a lot of power. We only have 122 horsepower and 114 pound-feet of torque. But you know what? For driving around the city, I think it's perfectly adequate. Yeah, you do have to be strategic with your passing and merging onto the highway, but it gets the job done, and it's actually a very efficient drivetrain as well. I'm able to average around 7.5 liters per 100 kilometers, driving this in both mixture of city and highway driving. I think that's around 35 miles per gallon, and that's very good for a small car, you know, let alone a crossover. So this thing is very fuel efficient. You're not going to get a lot of power, but it's enough to get the job done, and it's a pretty smooth, refined engine overall. I really don't have any complaints about it, especially for what you're paying for this car. One of the concerns that a lot of buyers have with Nissan models is the fact that they come with CVT transmissions. And yes, in the past, CVTs were definitely an issue area for Nissan, and they did do a lot of replacements, but they have improved the quality of them over time, and the latest models are definitely a lot more reliable than the ones in the past. Is it really a concern, and should it turn you off from buying this car? I honestly don't think so. I think for the most part, considering, you know, how many cars Nissan makes with CVTs, how many are already out there, and the failure rate that exists, I think it's a pretty low risk overall, and it still makes this car a safe bet. And it's a good performing transmission. It's smooth, it doesn't really get in your way, it gets the job done, and it does help improve the efficiency just a little bit. So let's talk a little bit about the way the Kicks drives. All you really need to know here is that this is a very competent car from getting from point A to point B pretty comfortably overall. I mean, it's got a good compliant soft suspension. It feels very nimble and maneuverable, mostly thanks to its small size. I mean, this is a very easy car to drive around the city. It's easy to park. It fits into small spaces, which is something that you really can't say about a lot of larger crossovers out there. And it handles and drives perfectly fine. I could see this being a really good first car for somebody if they're looking for something that is not too intimidating, approachable, easy to drive. The Kicks does the job perfectly fine. So let's talk about pricing. The base MSRP for the Kicks is $19,898 for the base S trim level, and it stretches up to about $24,998 for the top of the line SR Premium. Very affordable overall, and you do get a lot of equipment and features for that price. The base model includes things like the 7-inch touchscreen infotainment system with Apple CarPlay, Android Auto. You get heated seats, Bluetooth, air conditioning, and you also get a lot of good safety features that I touched on, like the forward emergency braking, the lane departure warning, and blind spot monitoring. So overall, you are getting a really well-equipped car for around $20,000. If you stretch that up to the highest trim level for the SR Premium, you get a lot of extras like the surround view, 360-degree camera, you get adaptive cruise control, the synthetic leather seats, a heated steering wheel, and you also get a really good premium Bose sound system that includes speakers in the headrests. So overall, I really can't see what you're missing in this car, especially for that price. I'm struggling to think of any other crossover that you can buy for around 25 grand that gives you everything that the Kicks gives you. It really is a phenomenal value. So the Kicks is designed to compete with other compact crossovers that come with front-wheel drive platforms like the Hyundai Venue and the Hyundai Kona, the Kia Soul, the Kia Seltos. You could also compare it against things like the Subaru Crosstrek, the Mazda CX-30, or the Honda HR-V. These are all compact crossovers that are more or less in the same ballpark. But what the Kicks has going for it is the fact that you are going to pay a lot less money for one when you compare it to a lot of these rivals. Just about the only one that's in the same price spectrum is the Hyundai Venue. And overall, I think you're getting a lot more for your money if you go for the Kicks. One drawback with the Kicks, and I don't even know if you could really call it a drawback because it's not necessary for everyone, is the fact that it only comes with front-wheel drive. There is no all-wheel drive option available like you obviously get with a lot of other crossovers, but I honestly think that's not a big deal. I mean, the majority of people ultimately don't really need all-wheel drive. Even those in the snow belt can do fine with a set of good good winter tires. So if that's not a deal breaker for you, I do think it's worth saving a lot of money and considering one of these. Okay, so final thoughts on the Nissan Kicks. I have to say, I do help a lot of people who are in the market to buy a new car, and crossovers, SUVs are extremely popular overall. A lot of people are attracted to them. They like the way they look. They like the high seating position, being able to see everything around you out on the road. And they're very practical cars. They hold a lot of stuff. They're good for families. So I can really see the attraction to them. Like I said, I touched on many times in the video, most of them are very expensive. So if you're looking for something on a budget and you don't want to pay more than around $25,000, I think the Nissan Kicks is a really good choice. I mean, it's just designed really well overall. It's got a good interior, lots of safety features. It's efficient, doesn't use a lot of gas, and it has a decent amount of space inside. So I think there's a lot of value here, and if you're looking for a quality car, this is a really good choice for somebody on a budget. So let me know what you think about the 2021 Nissan Kicks. How does it compare to other small affordable crossovers? And if you want to suggest a similar car video or car comparison, just leave a comment below. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like and subscribe. And if you want to check out some of my other similar car comparison videos, car reviews, or advice, just check out these links over here. And if you need any additional car advice, recommendations, or help with getting a great deal on your next new car purchase, you can also check out carhelpcanada.com. Thanks so much for watching, and see you next time.